Welcome to the Dreams of Consciousness podcast. If you'd be so kind, would you mind introducing yourself?
Hello. I am Dr. Ross Sewage from the band Exhumed and a big laundry list of other bands.
And in that big laundry list of other bands is Impaled and a few of the other projects that you've had that you were kind
Uh,
to
yeah.
come on this podcast before to speak about. But since this is,
We never want to forget Impaled, even though we sort of forget ourselves sometimes.
but since this is the first time you're on speaking about Exhumed, I'm going to have to ask you this annoying question. How would you describe the music of Exhumed? What is Exhumed?
It's gore metal. I don't think you can get a more succinct description than that. Even though it doesn't really tell you much about the music. I think if you say, "Oh, it's gore metal," I think everybody knows what it's going to be. It's going to be messy. It's going to be loud. It's going to have fast parts. It's going to have mosh parts. It's going to be have a tinge of grossness in every note.
And we spoke about this a little bit the last time you were on last year, but uh, you know, gore metal and exhumed, this style that was uh, largely largely founded by Carcass in
Yeah,
the late
and then
'80s.
and then we decided to co-opt by naming our album Core Metal.
Well, I mean, the thing
It's
about
ours
those,
now, Carcass. Take that.
well, the thing about those Carcass albums is, from album to album, they never really stuck with one style. Do you know what I mean? And I think with
Well,
Exhumed
that's
and
because
Impaled,
Bill Steer is an accomplished musician, and then there's Exhumed.
but you know what I mean, right? Like, I think in terms of like
Absolutely, yeah.
what we think of that in that style of gore grind or gore metal, it is really like the bands like Exhumed and Impaled and General Surgery and all the others who kind of fleshed out that style and made it what it is today. Do you think that's true?
I mean, I certainly think obviously it's like they're the grind fathers of the genre, as it were. But they stepped away from it. I mean, they still do heavy metals. They kind of went back to some earlier material as they once they reformed. But I'd say if people want to think about gore metal, they're always going to think of Carcass, but it's really like one and a half Carcass records that they're thinking of,
Right.
and basically what they're thinking is of everything else people have done since then, including earlier cattle decapitation, hemorrhage, and general surgery is a perfect example. Pathology from Czech Republic. These are the bands that kind of like define and exhumed and impaled and all that kind of stuff. Those are the bands that kind of like defined what the fences were. The Carcass jumped well past those fences and did great stuff on their own. That like with heart work and things like that. And Surgical Steel, like they dipped their toes back in, but they're kind of their own beast, and they're above the rest of us. Like, let's just be honest. But yeah, I think if you're looking at who actually put the boundaries in and be like, this is what was going to be gore metal. It's this whole panoply of bands that were inspired by Carcass, and that's who kind of defined the whole genre.
So we never really spoke about your history with Exhumed too much before, but you're in the band now. You're in the band near the beginning. Uh, were you there at the very beginning? Did you know Matt when he was a teenager, when he was doing all this stuff back in the '90s?
I didn't know them at the very beginning, but very shortly afterwards, I met the original drummer Cole Jones in high school. I think they'd only been jamming a couple of years at that point. They had the first demo, and the excreting innards 7-inch because I have a copy of that. So um, that we started. I met Cole in high school. I was just starting to kind of get into like harder music in general, and was growing my hair out. And he's like, "Oh, look, another long hair at high school. There's not many of us, so let's talk." And so we started chatting and about comic books and things like that. And I was like, "Yeah, I like like some Metallica, Megadeth." He goes, "Oh, try out Godflesh, try out Carcass, try out Napalm Death." So he really opened my eyes up to the music, and Met Matt because we were doing like tabletop role playing like Marvel superheroes. So we were like really a bunch of dorks just hanging out in San Jose. And then they'd be like, "Okay, cool hanging out with you, Ross. We got to like go in the garage and practice some music with these other guys, Daryl and Jake and Ben." So I knew them and I was hanging out. I've filmed some of their earlier shows when they were still a five-piece lineup. Um, but yeah, so I was definitely hanging out. I was one of the barnacles. I'm sure the original vocalist would had thought of me. It's like, what is this fucking barnacle hanging around for? But it's just if you insert yourself enough, you can be with the band 30 odd years later.
Well, what brought you back to Exhumed? Had you and Matt been in touch that whole time?
No, we had actually. There was a great deal of time where we didn't talk, and a couple times where there was actually some pretty close to fights. They were kind of pathetic, but it was a little bit of pushing and shoving at some shows and some stuff like that. It got pretty heated, and then Matt kind of quit Exhumed. I mean, we did play a show, like a couple shows together, but we didn't really talk. And then he kind of like retired, semi-retired, and then came back and showed up at an Impaled show and just came in backstage with a six pack of beer, and that kind of started the peace brokering. After I skipped a part, I did provide a bunch of tapes for the Platters of Splatter because I had all the original digital master or DAT tapes and stuff like that. I thought that was the piece, but then it got heated again because of some dumb interviews and stuff. Just children sniping at each other. And but then Matt came back in the late 2010s, kind of started making some peace, and then he emailed me when they were planning to do Gore Metal Redo, and he asked if I, said like, well, if you want to be on it, it would be cool to have you. And I thought I was going to look like a prick if I refused to record vocals for that. So I did that, and then they were doing a tour, and their bassist Matt Slime had asked to leave the band. And Matt said, "Well, hey, since we're promoting Gore Metal Redo, do you want to rejoin and do this tour with us?" And I was like, "No, because it's 2 weeks away, and I actually have a job, so I couldn't do that." But I was like, "I'll meet you on the West Coast, do like 5 shows where I jump on," and you know, and so Matt Slime was not able to retire from Exhumed for at least one more month. And I jumped on, hung out with those guys, and we had a really good time. And we had one night where we had like a big, long, drunken heart to heart. And then at the end of it, Matt asked me if hey, Matt's Slime is leaving. Do you want to play the show in Mexico with Judas Priest? And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Of course I want to play a show in Mexico with Judas Priest. He's like, you're going to have to learn some of our later songs. I'm like, well, I guess I'll have to listen to them finally because I never did. And they were fun. And that trip was kind of a shit show. That's a whole other story. But we did play the show. We watched Judas Priest. And sometime after that, Matt was like, do you want to just rejoin? Because this seems kind of fun and it feels right. And I was like, yeah, actually, I talked with my other bands. And I was like, okay, you guys are all first, but I'm gonna rejoin Exhumed. We'll see how it goes. Did a record, and we just stuck it out and realized like, wow, we were just dickheads to each other as kids, but we actually still get along.
I'm curious about your perspective on those albums that you didn't play on, because since you weren't involved with the writing or recording, how would you describe the evolution that Exhumed went through from the time that you were in the band to some of that later stuff?
I think I'm going to catch some hell. I'm not super into the early Exhumed stuff. I think it got better later. I think when Matt like semi retired and went home and like really started, you know, uh, fostering his musical intellect much further and giving himself more time to think about things. I think the material when they come back with Leon Del Muerte and Wes and stuff, and I think those albums fucking rip. I love playing the material off like Necrocracy or All Guts No Glory. Those albums are awesome. I really like those ones a lot, and I think it shows a real. It still harkens back to the death grind and mixing in a lot of elements of thrash and stuff, but I think it's just more cohesive and honed, and it sounds more. It sounds like it's still got the energy of an angry teenager, but with the intelligence of a thoughtful adult.
The lineup that Exhumed has now with you and Sebastian, has this largely been the same lineup since 2019, since the horror album.
Yeah, amazingly, Exhumed has been able to maintain a lineup. It's one for the history books. We were pretty excited to just have two records together with horror and then To the Dead, and now we've made a third one together. And so we're hoping we can keep this one going for a while. Everyone seems into it. We still all love each other, so I think we could squeeze out a few more over the years until me and Matt and Mike are in walkers or whatever it's going to take to get us on stage.
The last time we spoke, you mentioned that you guys are doing a lot of remote writing these days since people are so spread apart. I believe Sebastian's on the East Coast. I think the rest of the band is still in
Yeah.
California. Yeah.
No, Mike, our drummer, is in Ohio. Baz is a kid from Dundalk, Maryland, and then me and Matt are both in California, though we're separated by about 200 miles.
Are you, Matt, and Sebastian writing full songs, demoing full songs, and then submitting them to the band?
Yeah, yeah. Basically, the process is whatever Matt writes, he just gets to keep, and I try to critique it, but he doesn't want to hear it from me. But yeah, me and Baz will like I do a lot of I don't do a lot of guitar playing, but I do a lot of guitar writing. You're probably never going to see me play guitar, but I do play it at home. Try to write some riffs, put together songs. I put mine together. I use like Guitar Pro, and then demo out the recording. Baz is a maniac and actually just plays every single instrument because he's a multi-instrumentalist, and someone should break his arms and legs because I'm jealous. But he'll just crank out an actual full demo because he's running a studio out of his place, so he records bands, so he's set up to record any time. And Matt sends us his stuff, and then we send him our stuff. And there's actually very little changes or critiques. I think we all trust each other to write decent music. I think we all have a pretty good bead on what's gonna happen. And then once we have all these demos together, then me and Matt will just kind of like start writing some lyrics. And it's not like we pin it to a board and be like, you do this one, you do that one. It's more like, oh hey, I just thought of ones for this song, and okay, cool. And then I'll think of one for another one, and then it just kind of fills up.
So the last time we spoke last year, you mentioned that you were recording your tracks for a new Exhumed album. That album will be coming out on the 20th of February through Relapse Records, and it's called Red Asphalt. Tell me a little bit about your intentions for this album. Going into this, did you want to
Uh,
stick to like a classic Exhumed style, or did you want to add some stuff?
I think it's a lot of Exhumed can't doesn't have that much breadth of musicianship going on at any given point in our career, but I think you'll find what we were trying to put a pin on it. Say I think there's a little more sleaze on this record, as opposed to just like sheer anger or sheer grossness. Like it's kind of sleazy, and there's like a lot of you'll find more of that in there. You're still like super hard blast beats and death grind going forward, and the typical gore metal you're gonna like. But hey, there might be like a slightly pungent stench inspired riff, or
Right.
some material like that, like to pepper it. And I think that was just like kind of fun to do, and kind of was inspired in part by like the theme of the record of being on the road, and the kind of sleazy feeling that you have sitting in a van for 15 hours without a shower for 5 days, and eating nachos from a Flying J that have grown cold underneath your van bench. So that crept in there, and so I think you'll find a little bit more of that, which I'm happy about. I love Punch and Stench. That's one of my favorite bands. So I think every death metal band could use a little more sleaze.
Let's talk a little bit about the theme of being on the road. Would you describe this as a concept album?
I would say it's a conceptual album. There's not, to me, if you say concept album, I'm expecting a narrative from beginning to end.
Right.
Death Revenge is a concept record, but like horror I think was also somewhat of a conceptual record in that it was supposed to be more of an '80s throwback, and very Repulsion inspired. This one is, we were driving on tour, and we were talking about what we wanted to do with a new record potentially, and I was like, just I've always said like, oh, how come we don't have like a road song? Well, I want a sweet road song about being on the road and how we just can't wait to get home. That kind of shit that you always got from all the '80s metal bands, and that kind of inspired Matt to be like, well, we could try to write a death metal road song, but of course it would have to be about death and gore. And then I was like, well, why doesn't that just the whole concept of our next record is like road songs and like whether it be like auto crashes or explosions or all this like horror and tragedy. Think about movies like The Hitcher and Death Race 2000 also,
Right,
and then
yeah.
that got us talking about all the kind of exploitation safety films that they would show us in high school driving courses, which I don't think they show anymore because you can just find all that shit on YouTube now and TikTok. So but we were like inundated. They rolled a 16 millimeter projector, and then all of a sudden you're looking at like dead bodies in cars, and they drive like a wrecked car, the day before senior prom or whatever, and try to remind everybody that they shouldn't be drinking and driving. Those kind of like scare tactics, and so that seemed rife for us to pilfer for ideas and that kind of vibe.
Is this is this album a public safety announcement? Is this your way of telling people to
Yeah,
buckle up and
I mean, absolutely. I think that is part of it. I mean, if there's a little bit of good we can do in the world, it's like, we're not going to write songs about like, horrible misogyny, brutal killing, serial killers. It's not really what we care about. We are like more about, we want to laugh in the face of like the death that we face all the time. And that's, on the road, it is incredibly unsafe. I mean, they keep telling this story but 4 days before we announced the album, I got involved in a hit and run accident. So, and my car is costing me a lot of money right now. So go out and buy those Red Asphalt LPs. Um, but like it happens all the time. Me and Matt were involved in a wreck together in the '90s when we were coming back from an Exhumed show, and we were traveling in a shitty Forerunner, and Matt was driving overcorrected. Those things were built like shit back in those days. They had a very narrow base, and they flipped all the time. And he managed to flip it and rip part of my face off, which was pretty cool. So that stuff does happen. So, and it just happened to me, and I'm still going to be going to the courts trying to get my money out of this fucking jerk that we found. That's going to be a months long process. And so, yeah, it's a bit of a PSA. It's also, Exhumed is members. Can't say for myself, but some of the members have certainly had their brushes with some reckless driving and some consequences from it. So, it is like our love letter to the road, but it is also like, hey, we're not going to write some political record right now because everybody is messed up. But I'm like, hey, if we could just stop some people from drunk driving, I'd feel pretty good.
yeah. Do you help with the lyrics? Do you write some of the lyrics with Matt?
Oh yeah, no, we write the lyric. We both write lyrics. I don't know about the percentage. I mean, it's somewhere near 50-50. It might vary on any given record. And then we sat down at one point this year, like together in person, and like went through the songs and read, going over the meters of the lines and like laughing with each other if somebody had a good word play or pun, and just kind of polished everything up before we actually went in to record our vocals.
Did you guys do all the recording remotely?
Yeah, just well, the Baz and Mike fly into San Luis Obispo because Exhumed some years ago. We took some money we had lying around, and we got a new rehearsal space and built an actual recording studio in it. Darker corner. And the idea was to keep churning out 7 inches and splits. And then Mike moved to Ohio, so that for good reasons, but that didn't quite work out. But we still will record and engineer there for the drums. And then after that, it is all remote. Matt records all his guitars in his studio. Sebastian records his stuff in his studio, and I have another rehearsal room here with Impaled, and so that does all happen remotely. It's not quite as fun as it used to be, but it is easier and it's budget friendly.
Do you double track your vocals?
No, never. Never thought about doing that. Even it's already unintelligible enough. I'm not sure why I would need to put a second vocal over it.
Yeah.
If it sounds like that, that's kind of cool. But no, not in any. I mean, there may have been a part here or there where I thought it sounded cool, but not in general. No.
Yeah. I'm just curious. I've been asking a lot of vocalists that lately, just because it occurred to me that a lot of bands are doing it. I'm just not sure how many bands are doing it.
I mean, I've certainly had like either with Matt or with Sean from Impaled. I was like, because doing the highs, I was like, why don't you double that one part because it sounds kind of thicker and neater, and emphasis on something, but not generally. No, not throughout the recording.
Do you want to say anything about Scott Evans, who makes the album?
Scott Evans. I was just thinking when you're talking about mixing and recording. Scott Evans is my hero, my savior. Started working with him randomly. Our bands Ludacra and Kowloon Walled City played together years ago. That's how we met. And then I was tweeting about my blog and some fix it thing, and Scott Evans tweeted back. He was like, someday I want to record a band Ross Sewage is in because I want to be on his blog. And I was like, well, hey, this band I'm in needs a recording. This is so we went in and tried him out for a single song, and we were like, wow, we really like this, and he became the go-to guy for that band. And then it was Exhumed this last time. They heard that band put out an EP called Noxious Concoctions, and Baz heard it, and I was playing for him. Hey, I want to hear this new stuff. And Baz said, that guy on that recording, and I mean, it's been wonderful. Scott is sick. He makes the recordings sound like polished and big enough to sound like a professional recording studio, but they still have the vibrancy to the tones and everything that make it sound like it could be a live recording. And I adore him. I cannot speak highly enough of him. Don't get too excited and take him away from us, please. Like nobody go and give him tons of money so he won't record Exhumed anymore, or mix Exhumed rather.
Uh, was the live aspect something that you wanted Scott to bring to this album? Did you want to really capture your
I
live?
mean, I think he kind of that's part of the reason we wanted to use him in the first place is some of the it goes back and forth between the records, but a lot of people. I'm not a big fan of the production on Slaughter Cult, but it does have a vibrancy that people have expressed to me where it really sounds like that's a band in a room just cranking their amps like well past any kind of decibel level that should be safe for human ears. And I think that is kind of part and parcel with with a proper Exhumed experience. It should sound very in your face and almost live. And so I think Scott was really able to bring that to this. That maybe our previous recordings have been good, but I think it was missing a little bit of that vibrancy. And I'm very happy with the work that everyone has done for us. But like, I'm really excited about the production on this record.
And I just want to mention that Leon, who's been in both Impaled and Exhumed, uh, handled the mastering.
Yes, yeah, we do try to keep it in the family when we can, and Leon is an old friend and will probably still be on the stages with us like until the end when one of us has a wedding to go to or something. Leon is always happy to come and join the group and be a good friend and work with us, and we do love the man.
So by the time the album is released, you guys will be on tour with Oxygen Destroyer and No Moss, and you'll have a tour immediately after that one with Gruesome. Do you want to say anything about those tours?
Well, the Gruesome tour is, yeah, I mean, we're really excited about, I love Oxygen Destroyer, and I've toured with No Moss before and had a great time with those guys. And so I'm really excited to hit the road with them again. We're going to have a great time. We're going to, we're doing a portion. We're going out for a month, but I would say this is just part one. So anybody who is upset that we're not coming to whatever city you live in, just hold on and just wait. We want to go and party with all of our friends all around the country. We're very excited to get back to Europe. I think it's been 7 years. We had some misfires along the way that we were trying to get there around To the Dead, and things just didn't pan out. But we're so excited to get back there, eat all the cheese and bread that they have, and then we're gonna really see if we can actually kill Matt Harvey by making him play 2 sets in a row. So that's we're gonna see, or at least he'll have to like he'll have to shut up in the van. So that'll be fun.
So Red Asphalt will be out on February 20th through Relapse Records. Ross, please tell everyone how they can order the new album. What's the best way to get it?
You can, if you're a longtime Relapse customer, go to relapse.com. If you want to get any of our vinyl variant exclusives, or just go buy some older Exhumed stuff, go to the Darker Corners at my Darker Corners.myshopify. Just Google it and it'll come right up, and you can buy directly from the band, and that's fun. And if you're just interested in what I'm doing, check out my blog, drsewage.com. That's doctor with a K. I update it once in a while as whatever kind of goofy project I'm working on, whether it be a costume. There's a lot of pedal mods and amp fixing on there from years past, and I'll definitely be adding to it as we have some interesting experiences on the road. But hopefully, we don't become Red Asphalt.
Good luck with the tour, and tell Jordan from Oxygen Destroyer I said hello.
I will tell Jordan you said hello.
It was good catching up with you, Ross. Take care.
Yeah, definitely. Great to talk to you, Adrian. Cheers.